And it's 2-1 Edmonton.
Hey guys, welcome everybody to the Puck Drops here. I had to do some work and such and clarify my life, so I wasn't able to do a large amount of these episodes. Now we're back. We'll do some Stanley Cup Final revisit episode tomorrow. Do some of the grading when I can on the Carolina Hurricanes and the San Jose Sharks. This one we are doing now is another revisiting. It's the 2006 Western Conference champion, one of the most underrated and underappreciated conference champions in recent history, the Edmonton Oilers. A lot of people know about this crazy team that was the 8th seed and proceeded to run the table and win on the road in all of their conference games in their series, their 3 series against the Detroit Red Wings, San Jose Sharks, and then proceeding to win against the Anaheim Ducks, which was just shown, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. But many are not known about the players on that team, just about the preceding injury of their great goaltender in Rolison. But we'll look. Kyle Brodziak, a young center, was one of their guys that had been a journeyman and really helped. Alice Hemsky, a Czech, became a great scorer for them. Sean Horkoff, Jean-Francois Jacques, Jeffrey Lupul, who would go on to join a bunch of other teams as well. Alexei Mikhnov, Ethan Moreau, Peter Nedved, Robert Nielsen, Toby Pettersson, Fernando Pisani, who became a hero throughout these playoffs, an Edmonton-born guy, Marc-Antoine Pouliot, Marty Rissenet, Rob Schremp, Ryan Smith, the captain, a veteran with the team, Jarrett Stoll. He's a young player drafted by from Spokane. And he was one that played well. Zach Stortini, Peter Sikora, who had played for the Anaheim Ducks, the Devils, who was a Cup final guy who had known how to win. Patrick Thorenson, the aforementioned Rafi Torres, becoming a star, and Brad Winchester. On defense, the leader of the defense in Marc-Andre Bergeron, Sebastien Bassia, Tom Gilbert, Matt Green, Matt Green, who had played most defensive shifts with Marc-Andre Bergeron, Jan Hayda, Matthew Waugh, Ladislav Smeed, Jason Smith, Steve Stiles, Danny Svivert, Daniel Jonquist, and Brian Young, all great young defensemen. And the goaltenders, of course, the backup, UC Markkanen, and for most of the playoffs, Dwayne Rolison. Big Rolison was their huge starter, 6'1", big-time guy, 170-pounder who had played good for the Edmonton Oilers early on, and we will discuss how that went. They were the 8th seed in the Western Conference as the playoffs came out, and were seeded 3rd in the Northwest Division, a game and a half above the Vancouver Canucks, who were 4th place and had just missed out in the playoffs. Being the 8th seed, they had to play the President's Trophy winning 58 win Detroit Red Wings in what ended up being the last year of the remarkable, legendary Hall of Fame career of Stevie Yzerman. Edmonton came in having to play this gigantic Red Wing team, and it was going to be a miracle if they won a game. Well, they had already seen what had happened in the second round the year before of killing expectations of the Calgary Flames. This was obviously before the lockout. What had happened the year before that in the first round with the Mighty Ducks, and 2 years before that with the insanity of the 6 games series upset with the Los Angeles Kings. Now, for Edmonton, they started in Joe Louis Arena, and this game was one that went well into double overtime. But for the Edmonton Oilers, they only got 25 shots on goal on Detroit, but were able to make a lot of these shots. And in the double overtime, Detroit had 57 shots on Rolison, and Edmonton 27 on Martin Lagashi. Lang 4:05 into the first scored Robert Lang a power play goal for Detroit. Sergei Samsonov 11:44 into the first tied the game on a power play, and then Chris Pronger, a big defenseman acquired in the trade deadline for the Edmonton Oilers, 8:43 in the second, made it 2-1 Oilers. In the third, Maltby 13:43 in tied the game, and there was no goals in overtime, but 2:39 into the double overtime, while the Red Wings were moving the puck not on a power play but on their side. Kirk Maltby had a shot by the wall trying to keep it in, and it was just a strange moving shot with eyes that the puck was able just to go past Rolison, and Maltby gave the Detroit Red Wings that 1-0 series lead. Edmonton knew that they were going to be done if they couldn't, even how tough they had played, if they couldn't win in Detroit. So they got through and got a similar amount of shots, still not a lot, on Lagashi, but they were able to curb the most of their opportunities. 24 shots on goal on Lagashi. Detroit had 35 shots on goal on Rolison. And 12:32 in the first, his second straight game with a goal, the defenseman Pronger scored first as an Edmonton Oiler. 14:15 into the first 2 minutes later, Jason Williams tied the game for the Red Wings. Another point for Stevie Yzerman. And 7:11 into the second, as it was 1-1. Henrik Zetterberg on a power play made it 2-1 Red Wings. And 17:49 into the second, Pisani tied it for the Oilers. Brad Winchester ends up getting the game-winning goal with less than 2 to go in the second period, making it 3-2 Oilers. And with only 13 seconds left in the hockey game, Jarrett Stoll wings a puck down the ice and gets an empty netter to tie the series. Then it goes back to Rexall Place. Now the series tied at 1. And the Oilers get the most shots on goal they've had all series on Lagashi with 32. But Detroit, in a game that ends up going double overtime again, gets 47 shots on the aforementioned Rolison. 4:17 to the first, it's Edmonton who scores first for the first time. For the second time all series, second straight game. 4:17 into the first, it's Yaroslav Spacek. Then with about 8 minutes later, Henrik Zetterberg, second goal of the playoff year, ties it in a power play goal for the Red Wings. Ryan Smith, the captain's first goal, with 4 minutes left in the first period, makes it 2-1 Oilers. Later in the second period, in a power play goal, 2:38 in, Rafi Torres makes it 3-1 Edmonton. And as the second period ends, it looks like Edmonton has sealed this hockey game. But the Red Wings do not let that happen with the second goal of the playoffs. So the third goal of the playoffs, second goal of the game for Henrik Zetterberg. 11:52 into the third. And about 18 seconds later, when Matthew Schneider given a pass off the wall by Stevie Yzerman, ties the game at 3. The game ends there and then goes to overtime. Then doesn't go to double overtime, and the Oilers end up jamming the puck near the side of Lagashi. And Horkoff gets the puck, tries a wraparound that doesn't go, and then tries a forehand shot. Sergei Samsonov, the young forward, has another shot that goes off the side of the net. And then Jarrett Stoll brings the puck around on a delayed wraparound. And this one goes under the leg of Lagashi to give the Oilers a 2-1 series lead. The Red Wings do not wither, though, and get ready for a big Game 4, trying to go back to Joe Louis Arena tied at 2. And they limit the Oilers to 26 shots on Lagashi, and Detroit has 31 shots on goal on the aforementioned Rolison. Fernando Pisani again scores first for the Edmonton, 7:22 in to make it 1-0 Oilers. Tomas Holmstrom, 13:25 into the first, ties it on a power play goal. And then Robert Lang gets his second of the playoffs from Pavel Datsyuk and Nicholas Kronwall with 7 seconds remaining in the first period to give the Red Wings the lead, deflating for the Oilers. But 4:03 in the second, Edmonton's back again. Yaroslav Spacek scores his second goal of the playoffs from Hemsky and Sergei Samsonov, tying it with the power play goal. Then Nick Lidstrom lets it rip from a pass from Schneider, 6:44 into the third to give the Red Wings the lead, 3-2. And with 5 minutes remaining with 4:07 remaining in the third period, Henrik Zetterberg ends up sealing the game's fate with the power play goal to make it 4-2, and the series is tied going back to the Joe. Another closely contested game. Edmonton goes to Joe Louis Arena and only ends up getting 19 shots on goal on Lagashi, but again, finding a way to make the most of those shots. Detroit has 32 shots on Rolison, but only gets 2 past him. Also, 0-6 in the power play doesn't help Detroit's chances either. Fernando Pisani gets his third goal of the playoffs, 5:16 into the second period after a scoreless first by passes by Rafi Torres and Chris Pronger to make it 1-0 Edmonton. Then Ryan Smith, 8:34 into the second on a power play goal, makes it 2-0 Edmonton. Sean Horkoff continues to infuriate the Red Wing crowd, 12:36 in, making it 3-0 Edmonton. But then with less than 2 minutes to go, with 1:25 left, Brendan Shanahan scores the first goal for the Red Wings. And Zetterberg comes back with 22 seconds left to cut the lead in half, 3-2. But great defense by the Oilers after the flurry of goals in the second period is enough to take the series back to Rexall Place and give the underdog Oilers a chance to clinch and head to the second round over the President's Trophy champs. Detroit trying to reverse the history that was been there. They got 36 shots on Rolison, and Edmonton with 30 shots on Lagashi. But again, the Oilers making the rest of their opportunities, 2 of 6 in the power play. Detroit only 1 of 4. 14:36 in the first. Again, Zetterberg, huge start from Mikkel Samuelsson and Leja. 1-0 Detroit. Then 14:02 into the second. Robert Lang, after the 1-0 lead in the first, makes it 2-0 Red Wings. And then in the third period, 2:56 in, Fernando Pisani gets Edmonton on the board. 6:40 in the third, the fifth goal of the playoffs. Fernando Pisani gets a deuce. Then with 10:07 into the third period, Johan Franzen makes it 3-2 Red Wings. But that was it for the European, and that was it for Detroit. With 4 minutes left, Alex Hemsky ties the game with the power play goal. Then with only 1:06 remaining in the third, Hemsky scores a short side goal on Lagashi, which ends up being the game winner, giving Edmonton 4-3 and the series winner, sending the Oilers to the second round for the first time since 1998. Edmonton then faced a 5-seed San Jose Shark team that was able to take down the 4-seeded Predators. And it went to the HP Pavilion in San Jose, where the Sharks were able to take the first opportunity they had and take game 1. They had a whopping 30 shots on goal, on Rollison, and San Jose had only let up 16 shots on Vladislav Toskala. Jaroslav Spacek, 2:33 in the first, again scored first for the Edmonton, making it 1-0 Oilers. 7:42 in the first period. The Sharks tied it by a great goal by Patrick Marleau, his 8th of the playoffs. Christian Ehrhoff, 3:14 into the second, made it 2-1 Sharks, passes from McCulloch and Marleau. And that was it for the third period and the hockey game in the second. Ehrhoff's goal, the game winner, and 2-1 the Sharks would take game number 1. Back to the pavilion they would go, and back again, the Sharks would reclaim the possession and passion of what was to be. And again, San Jose completely controlled the shots on goal with 38 whopping shots in a regulation hockey game on the goaltender Rollison, and Edmonton only had 25 shots, which is a good amount on Vladimir Toskala, but it wasn't enough, only getting one goal past the Shark goaltender. For San Jose, they would get goals by Joe Thornton, the first-year Shark, as well as a goal by Tony Pressing, and defenseman. For the Oilers, only one goal passed, and that would be by Sergei Samsonov. And so the Sharks would head down to Rexall Place, but it might have well has been Rollison Place with a 2-0 series lead. This was a must-win game for Edmonton, and they showed the absolute urgency and need for it. A triple overtime game, and the Oilers ended up getting 57 shots on Toskala, while the Sharks would only get 34 shots in 6 periods on Rollison, solving him 2 times, and the Oilers side Toskala 3. Again, the Oilers would score first, 10:04 into the first. It was Marc-Andre Bergeron, his first goal of the playoffs. Marleau, 1:19 into the second, would tie the game 1. Then Patrick Rissmiller, 9:30 in the second, who would become a key player the next playoff year, would show his absolute control of the game by passes from Thornton and Chicho, making it 2-1 Sharks. And then Rafi Torres, the future Shark, 13:13 into the third, would tie the game, and it would eventually go to triple overtime, and another wraparound would win it. Sean Horkoff from Ryan Smith and Hamsky, as they pulled the puck off the blue line, and 2:24 into that third overtime. Finally, they solved Toskala, and the Oilers were back in the series. They got their first win of the series. Every single game was close except for Game 4. Finally, the Oilers broke through and ended up getting 35 shots on Toskala, and the Sharks got 25 shots on Rollison. Rollison was brilliant. It didn't start initially as good as they would have hoped. Joe Thornton, 3:47 in, made it 1-0 Sharks, his second goal of the playoffs as a Shark. Nisha Ekman, 6:40 into the first, made it 2-0 for a pass by Patty Marleau. And then Sean Horkoff would get the first goal for the Oilers, 12:55 into the first, making it 2-1 Oilers, 2-1 Sharks. The Oilers down by 1. Chicho, 9:02 into the second, make it 3-1 Sharks, and the Oilers would come back. 12:28 into the second, Michael Pekka would cut the deficit on, and then 15:35 in the second, unassisted goal by Sergei Samsonov, tying the game. But it was all Oilers in the third period. 2:57 in, Jason Smith gave Edmonton their first lead of the hockey game. Alex Hemsky, 18-19 into the third, made it 5-3 Oilers, and with 14 minutes into the third, a power play goal for Jarrett Stoll sparked and ended the Oilers' run 6-3. A power play goal, and Edmonton would tie the series going back to the HP Pavilion. Very similar story there in a game that also went and ended in regulation and was an Oiler blowout, the same score. But the shots on goal were not as remarkable. Only 18 shots on goal by Edmonton, but it was a down night for Tuskala. The Sharks had 24 shots on goal in Rolison, but only got 3 of them past him. Fernando Pisani scored first for Edmonton, 8:29 into the first, making it 1-0 Oilers. Scotty Thornton, 4:30 into the second, would tie the game for the Sharks. Ryan Smith, 16:31 into the second, would make it 2-1 Oilers on a power play goal. 12 seconds into the third period, Sean Horkoff made it 3-1 Oilers on a shorthanded goal. 44 seconds into the third period, the Sharks came back by an Ehrhoff shot with the power play goal that would cut the lead in half. And then Jonathan Chicho, 2:30 into the third, an amazing start, would tie the game at 3. 4:03 into the third, Fernando Pisani gave the Oilers the lead. 13:40 into the third, Edmonton would get a 2-goal lead by Jarrett Stoll's goal. And with 3:49 left in the third period, Ryan Smith would end the Sharks' hope of a 3-2 series lead with a power play goal to make it 6-3. And for the second straight series, it was a Game 6 at Rexall Place that could send the Edmonton Oilers to another victory. This time it would be their first conference final since 1990. Edmonton would end up getting 26 shots on goal on Tuskala, and the Sharks got 24 shots on goal on Rolison. But for the first time all playoffs, Rolison didn't let a single go through. It was a shutout for Rolison. And it started by Michael Pekka, 8:21 into the first, beating Tuskala. No goals in the second period. But 11:37 into the third, Sean Horkoff started the Edmonton party and ended the Sharks season. And the Oilers took it in 6. But they would face a team that had gone past the upstart Calgary Flames and then went past the upsetting Magical Avalanche, and that would be the 6th-seeded Anaheim Mighty Ducks. And this had been 3 years fully, but because of the lockout not being here, it was only 2 years removed from the Anaheim Ducks' mighty run where they went magically to the Stanley Cup final with 7 games. So they knew they could not have taken them lightly. Edmonton went to the Arrowhead Pond to play the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. And there they faced a good offense, especially headlined by Korea. The Mighty Ducks had 32 shots on goal on Rolison, but Rolison was brilliant, only letting up 1. Edmonton had 26 shots on goal. On the goaltender, Ilya Bryzgalov, who was starting in place of Jagier. 18:35 into the first, Pekka made it 1-0 Oilers on a shorthanded goal. 32 seconds later, Andy McDonald tied the game for the Ducks. 11:35 into the second, in Anaheim, Hemsky made it a 2-1 Edmonton lead on a power play goal, which ended up being the game-winning goal. Todd Harvey, 19:18 into the third, made it 3-1 Oilers, and that wrapped up game number 1. Game number 2, very similar story. Back in Anaheim. Anaheim finally got the shots on goal they needed to try and beat Rolison, but only 34 shots on Rolison, only 34 shots, only 1 goal, and the Oilers were able again to get 3 goals past Bryzgalov. 13:08 to the first, Pronger, his 3rd goal of the playoffs, first since game number 2 against the Red Wings. 13:08 in, made it 1-0 Oilers. Jeff Friesen, 6:12 into the second, tied the game by passes by Rob Niedermeyer and Scotty Paulson, making it 1-1 in favor of the Ducks. Tied still. Fernando Pisani, 17:09 into the second, made it 2-1 Oilers. And with 18 seconds left, In the third period, Michael Pekka threw it off the wall and got an empty netter to make it 3-1 in favor of the Oilers. So only really 2 goals let up by Brizgalov, but it was enough, and the Oilers took a 2-0 series lead back to Rexall Place. This would be another 1-goal game, another 1 to 2 goal game, but it was much more high scoring. And then in regulation, but the Mighty Ducks had 38 shots on goal in a losing effort. One of the reasons why being an 0 of 7 showing at the power play, and the Oilers were 2 of 8, scoring 22 shots on goal on Brizgalov, and the Ducks 38 shots on goal on Rolison. Toby Pettersson, 13:47 to the first, made it 1-0 Oilers. 2:19 into the third, Michael Pekka made it 2-0 Oilers. Steve Stiles, 3:35 into the second, made it 3-0 Oilers on a power play goal. 4:40 into the third, Chris Pronger made it 4-0 Edmonton, but it would not be over there. Sean O'Donnell, 17:15 into the third, made it 4-1. Cutting the lead, Teemu Selanne, his first playoffs back with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, 9:13 into the third, cut the lead in 2. Chris Kunitz, 11:15 into the third, cut the lead in half, 4-3. 14:14 into the third, Fernando Pisani gave the Oilers the cushion that was needed, and Todd Marchant, 8, and that would end up being the game winner. And with 2 minutes left, Todd Marchant would cut the lead in half for the Ducks. And in a wild, magical game, the Oilers would take the win and get a 3-0 series lead, go into Game 4 back in Edmonton with a chance to clinch the Western Conference and go to the Stanley Cup Final for, at that time, what would become the first time in 16 seasons. Edmonton had 23 shots on goal in a regulation game on Brizgalov, scoring 3 of them, where Anaheim had 46 shots on goal on Rolison and finally got through to him. 7:28 to the first, Dustin Penner, the future King, made it 1-0 Ducks. 15:11 into the first, but 7 minutes later, Penner scored his third goal of the playoffs, second goal of the game. The rookie Getzlaf, 19:18 into the first, made it 3-0 Ducks on a power play goal. Bergeron, 3:30 into the second, cut the lead in 2. Ruslan Soleil, 5:42 in the second, one of the more tenured Ducks, made it 4-1 Anaheim. Ryan Smith, 7:46 into the second, cut the lead in half again. 10:01 into the second, Georges Larac cut the lead in 1, making it 4-3 Ducks. Then Jeffrey Lupul, 18:22 in the second, made it 5-3 in favor of the Ducks. Lupul got another one, 1:10 in on an empty netter to make it 6-3 Anaheim and send the series back to the pond with the Ducks still alive. That would be all she wrote for the mighty Ducks of Anaheim, though. A 2-1 game in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. Anaheim had 33 shots on Rolison, only scoring 1 of them, and Edmonton had 25 shots on Brizgalov, scoring 2 of those. 7:30 into the first, Bolsheman from Niedermeyer and Selanne made it 1-0 Ducks on a power play. Ethan Moreau, 3:42 into the second, tied the game at 1, and Rafi Torres delivered the conference 8:31 into the second, which ended up being the game-winning goal, making it 2-1 Oilers and sending Edmonton to the to the Cup final. There they would face a team suspected to badly play throughout the regular season, but ended up being the second best team in the Eastern Conference in a young but experienced upstart Carolina Hurricanes squad. Went to the RBC Center in Raleigh to play Carolina, and there they would face another hot goaltender in Cam Ward. Due to an injury against Anaheim, Rolison would not be playing in the Cup final. Who would be playing would be the young Finnish goaltender in Tomas Conklin. 38 shots on goal for the Oilers. And Cam Ward and 26 shots on goal in Conklin, but the inexperience in goal for the Edmonton Oilers fatigued them in this hockey game. 18 into the first, Fernando Pisani made it 1-0 Edmonton. 10:36 into the second, Chris Pronger made it 2-0 Edmonton. Ethan Moreau, 16:23 into the second, made it 3-0 Oilers, but the leader and captain of the Hurricanes struck first for Carolina. 17:17 into the second period, Ron Brind'Amour got the first goal for the Hurricanes. Into the third, 140 in, Ray Whitney cut the lead in half. Ray Whitney, 5:09 into the third, tied the game on a power play goal. Justin Williams, the young winger, 10:02 into the third, made it 4-3. Canes on a shorthanded goal. 13:31 into the third, Hemsky tied the game in a power play goal. But then, with only 32 seconds remaining in the hockey game, Rob Brind'Amour got a steal and got the puck right past Conklin on the short side, which ended up being the game-winning goal, giving Carolina game number 1 and a 1-0 series lead in the game that Edmonton felt for sure they could win. The next game, though, completely deflated the spirits of the Oilers with a domination on all sides by the Carolina Hurricanes. 26 shots on goal by Carolina on the goaltender Conklin, 25 by Edmonton on the goaltender Ward. 6:21 into the first, Ladd made it 1-0 Hurricanes. Into the second period, František Kaberle, 10:28 into the second, made it 2-0 Hurricanes. With 3 seconds left in the second period, Corey Stillman deflated the balloon of the Oilers. And into the third, Doug Waite, 2:21 in, made it 4-0 Oilers on Hurricanes on a power play goal, And Mark Recchi, 4:12 into the third, made it 5-0 Hurricanes, and they headed to Alberta with a 2-0 stranglehold. In Rexall Place, it would be a difference for Edmonton. They would have 30 shots, on Ward, scoring twice. The Hurricanes would have 25 shots on Conklin, only scoring once. 2:31 in the first, it would start. No power play goals, 0-5 for the Hurricanes, 0-7 for the Oilers. Sean Horkoff, 2:31 in, made it 1-0 Oilers. No goals in the second period. Rob Brind'Amour's spectacular playoff year continued with his 12th goal of the playoffs, 9:09 into the third, his third goal of this series, tying the game. But with 2:15 remaining in the hockey game, the captain Ryan Smith for the Oilers ended up getting the game winner, making it 2-1 Edmonton and bringing the Oilers back in the series, something they're very comfortable with. Game 4 would appear with another close contest. Both low shots on goal. Edmonton ended up getting 21 shots on Ward, but he was spectacular, stopping every single one but one. The Hurricanes would get 20 shots on goal on Conklin and scored 2 of them. Sergei Samsonov, 8:40 into the first, scored against his future team, making it 1-0 Oilers. 9:09 into the first, Corey Stillman tied the game. He had a great postseason, his 9th goal of the playoffs, tying it on a power play for the Hurricanes. And then Mark Recchi, 15:56 into the second period, got the game winner for the Hurricanes and won Game 4, and they went back to Raleigh with a chance to win the series. And this was one of the more closely contested magical games that would appear. Carolina ended up getting 24 shots on goal on Conklin, and Edmonton got 29 shots throughout the overtime and the regulation period on Cam Ward. In the first, Fernando Pisani, 16 seconds in, made it 1-0 Oilers, his 11th goal of the playoffs. Eric Stahl's 8th goal of the playoffs, 5:54 in, tied the game on a power play for the Hurricanes, igniting the boisterous Carolina crowd. 10:16 into the first, Ray Whitney gave the Carolina Hurricanes the lead in Game 5 with a power play goal. Ales Hemsky, 13:25 in, tied the game for the Oilers 2-2 on a power play goal. And with 18 seconds remaining in the first period, Michael Pekka gave the Oilers a 3-2 lead. In the second, 9:56 into the second, Stoll tied the game on a power play goal. The game would go to the third. There would be no goals. And then 3:31 in overtime as Carolina just received a power play and was gingerly moving off their zone. A careless pass resulted in Pisani intercepting and going short side right on the middle of the net, a breakaway goal to give the Oilers life and send them back to Rexall Place with a chance to tie the series. Carolina was deflated for not winning that Game 5, and they did not show up at all in the Game 6. Carolina only had 16 shots on Conklin. He stopped them all. And Edmonton had 34 shots on Ward, scoring 4 of them. In the first period, no goals, but in the second period, a minute 45 in, again, the magic of Pisani, a power play goal. He continued where he left off, getting assist the 11th point by Hemsky and the 10th point by Spacek, making it 1-0 Oilers. Later in the first period, 9:54 in the second period, 9:54, and Rafi Torres made it 2-0 Oilers. Ryan Smith, 3:04 into the third, made it 3-0 Oilers on a power play goal. And 13:05 into the third, Sean Horkoff got another power play goal, making it 4-0 Edmonton and sending the series to 7. Climax close game for the Edmonton Oilers and the Carolina Hurricanes in the 7th game. And Carolina had 27 shots on goal on Conklin. He was amazing the previous game, but wasn't at Rollison's level in that 7th game. Edmonton had 23 shots on Cam Ward, only scoring 1 of them. Carolina, a minute 26 into the first period, lit up the crowd with a goal by Aaron Ward, who was not supposed to score at all. Frederick Caberlet, 4:18 into the second, made it 2-0 Hurricanes, which would end up being the game-winning goal. 1:03 into the third, Pisani again, his 14th goal of the playoffs. And then with 1:01 left in the period, as the puck was being moved off the wall, 2-1 the score, Justin Williams got the puck right off the wall with speed and launched a rocket towards the empty net, which ended up sealing the deal and giving the Hurricanes the first and only Stanley Cup in franchise history. So a magical year for the Edmonton Oilers, but just not enough gas in that last game. A lot of people, especially Edmontonites, like to blame the Rollison injury against Anaheim in the conference final and the inexperience of Conklin, but I really don't see that to be an issue. I think it's less to blame. Maybe a little more experience would have helped, but just a wonderful team that couldn't finish the job. So I thought that was a really interesting thing to look at. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly did enjoy making it. Hopefully we get ready for the next one coming up. We have videos and stuff to do. The next one is going to be on the 2007 Ottawa Senators. That's going to be a good one, the one that lost to the Anaheim Ducks in the Cup final. Hope you guys enjoy that. You get ready for that, and have a good afternoon and a happy hockey.